and welcome to another edition of Critical Conversations. And let me just turn this off so I don't get any more feedback there. Looks like we're live, and hi.
Hello.
This is Melissa, my beautiful wife, joining me this week. Sorry, I'm a little flustered. I just got my circuits mixed here in my head, circuits crossed. Live from Denver, it is Friday night. Hello, critics. Welcome to another live show where we talk to you. You get to call us. We get to talk. It's a good times had by all. There's no coffee, but there is talk. So let's see here. Yeah, everything looks good. I had some coffee earlier. Yeah, Melissa, okay, good. You had some coffee earlier? Okay, good. I don't drink coffee. That's why. I mean, I would do it. I would totally do the whole coffee talk thing, but I don't, as you guys know, I don't do coffee. I
soda and conversation?
I have Coke talk.
Oh, that sounds exciting, actually.
Actually, that would be a very energetic, high intensity, high energy show if it was Coke talk. All right. We will get to 7 here. We do have 7 cam, and there's a little bit of excitement with that. What was
Oh, they were letting you know that you put the wrong date.
Oh, did I? Oh, I meant to have that fixed. I thought I fixed that. No, my bad. I actually fixed it, and then I deleted the wrong number. Okay, my bad. Yeah, you got me on that one. It is the 9th of April. Okay, so... also we got the screen going behind us. Now this you'll see on the podcast this week. I actually threw a logo up here while I did my podcast. So that was kind of fun. And we will get something fancier. This is just the second screen I have on my laptop right now. So this is really actually, I don't know if you can see because my head's in the way. This is the Millennium Falcon, and this is a Star Wars shot that I am showing off there. So that's just my screen background. Yeah, okay, whoa, okay. Just glancing at the comments, and I see, is the screen for porn? I'm like, no, it's not for porn. It's definitely not, no. I don't know if anybody's even referring to me on that. Anyway, call-in line, 984-214-4154, if you are interested in calling in and talking to us this week. Lots to talk about. I had a few interesting things happen this week, but mainly I thought we'd talk about maintaining some perspective. And actually, along that theme, let me start the show with 7cam. Because this will give you a little perspective on what we have to go through to get him on camera.
Yes.
This is, all right, let's see here. There he is. Okay, so this is from my phone. And this was me actually following him. And normally what we do is we set up the phone and get some film of him. And I've got a little phone tripod and all that. And we get some nice footage of him. But he is often, and I do mean often, uncooperative. So here I thought I would show you some of what we go through just trying to get him to sit still for a while so we can do this. And there he is sitting there thinking, I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe he'll settle in and maybe we'll get some, oh, no, I'm not gonna, that's not what's gonna happen. And instead he's gonna wander over into the kitchen and he's gonna proceed to eat his food, which of course is, you know, clearly the most fascinating thing that anyone could ever want to see is 7 eating his food. So that's just I thought we might mix it up a little bit this week with that and just kind of give you a different perspective on 7. And we will have some more 7cam a little bit more. There's more footage of him wandering the premises here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so perspective, maintaining it. I'm doing my podcast this week actually a little bit on this whole thing, which is gratitude, the subject of gratitude, which is sort of the flip side of what we talk about most of the time on the show. Not this show, but on my channel overall. We tend to get into the darker side of life. And I can certainly tell you without any question whatsoever that that this is something that has really been driven home to me in a really big way because of my university studies. If I had not been doing this program, the importance of this would not be as front and center in my mind as it is right now. And I would not be in as good a place psychologically, mentally, as a result. Because a big part of this program has been pushing self-care and maintaining that and paying attention to that. And for a very long time, I did not do a very good job with that. In fact, most of my life, I haven't done a very good job with that. So for the first many months of my program, when they talked about this, it was to me just so, okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Sure. Self-care. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm busy. I got to focus. I got to get my work done. I'll care later. And what I have, and thank you very much for those comments, guys. You guys are awesome. As the program progresses, as it's going on, it has gotten, easier in some ways, but harder in others. And the harder part has been taking on more and more of the information that we are learning. And knowledge can be a burden. Truth is important. We want to live with truth. I want to, believe in true things and stuff like that. But there's a lot of very unpleasant truths in this world. There's a lot of really nasty things that we get up to. And learning about that can be difficult, especially when it's just kind of piling on one on top of another on top of another. This is why they are so like, hey, self-care, 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 right? And why now it's getting through me. And it's not like, I don't understand the importance of this on an intellectual level, but it battles with me emotionally sometimes because of my old bad habits and bad, action patterns and responses and thinking patterns that I've had for many, many decades. So this has been something that has been really pushed in my face lately as really, really, really important. And I think by lately, I mean the last few months. And we've, talked about stuff with this, and I thought maybe we should do a show about it and kind of talk about it. And like I said, I also did a whole podcast on this for tomorrow. So, okay. Gratitude is good, but hard, really hard. That is exactly right. Now, we do have a call in the queue, so I'm going to pick this up because I don't want to leave people holding when we are doing a call-in show. All right. Hello, David.
Hi, Chris.
Hey,
Hello.
hey.
Yep.
How's it going?
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm peachy keen.
Pretty well. Yeah. Good. I think it's a very interesting title today, and I think it relates very much to our current pandemic situation. I remember seeing a black and white photo of a young boy. He was at the parade, I think it was in 1915. It was quite early in the First World War. And somebody captioned it, well, this young boy in 5 years will have seen millions of people not come home from the war. And they'll see the Spanish flu completely decimate Europe and kill over 10 million people in a couple of years. And meanwhile, today, we have obviously this pandemic going on that's killed several million people, I think, by now. But out of a population that is much greater and much more interconnected than it was during World War I. Bill Gates gave a presentation on this years ago that the Spanish flu would be worse because of how interconnected the world was. And this is our closest analog. And despite all the doom and gloom, we've seemed to have handled it okay as a species.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, compared to how bad it could have been, we certainly, have done a fairly, a better job than not. Could we have done better? Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, and this has been, if we can remember, this is the hard part. Actually, right now, where the part we're at right now is actually the hardest part in terms of maintaining historical accuracy in our heads. Because this
Absolutely.
is the part of the arc where things are starting to get better now. And things are starting to chill. People are going out. The mask mandates are being reduced, not canceled, but being lessened. And our memories are going to start messing with us now. The hindsight bias, right? It's already been messing with us, of course, but the hindsight bias is what I'm referring to, right? Things we know now, we're going to pretend we knew the whole time.
Absolutely. I think the big one was in the UK, actually, for hindsight bias, because Boris Johnson's strategy in the UK was very much to shield the vulnerable and try to make life go back to normal. And for a while, that seemed to be working. Of course, then he caught the virus himself, and that obviously changed his perspective.
Yep.
But I don't think we could ever doubt Boris Johnson's sincerity in what he wanted to do. Whereas, the same cannot be said for Donald Trump or that crackpot in Brazil at the moment.
Right. Bolsonaro,
Yeah. And I think, again, part of the strength of American democracy is that Trump is gone, and Joe Biden has now crafted a very different, much more positive narrative about the US's pandemic response, because he is taking this seriously. He is rolling out the vaccines. And I think that's what America is going to be remembered for by the end of this. Their very successful vaccination drive under a much more rational, stable personality.
That's right. I think that's exactly going to be the case. And I think we're gonna. I think what I was referring to for the memory issues was I wanted people to keep front and center that we didn't know half the stuff we know now a year ago, right? And all the second guessing and all the oh my gods, and what do we do and how do we do this, and the desperation. Remember up until about June of last year, how desperate we were to kind of hope and pretend that it was only going to go for a month or two,
Yeah.
You remember? And we were all
yeah,
it's going to be, we're going to have a regular 4th of July, or we're going to, surely this will be over by the time school opens up, and it was like, nope, nope, none of that's happening.
Cling to these stable datums, as they would have been called in Scientology, and can't think outside that box.
That's right. That's right.
I think your topic as well, actually, it creates a good discussion for challenging some other of these dystopian narratives. I was talking to a Democrat friend of mine who was concerned about monopolies and stuff, and I told him if you look at the the Dow Jones or the S&P, in 10 years, most of the companies at the top actually fall off, and brand new companies are quite likely to get in there. The myth of the cyberpunk monopoly mega corporation is a myth, but it's a myth that I think a lot of people have an interest in perpetuating. He said, but David, the internet, Facebook is so big on the internet. And I said, well, in the 18th century, you sound like the people who might have said, but David, the East India Company controls the sea, and that's the most important thing. And
right.
Look what happened there.
That's right. Exactly. Things always change. I think, in fact, I got to wondering about this today. I think I tweeted something like, in 50 years, what social values or tizzies are we having right now that people are going to look back on and just either completely forget about or just think are ridiculous? Because we don't have the perspective now of what's going to happen in the future to moderate or temper it, our crazy thinking and kind of hysterical.
Fear,
fears.
What's gonna happen? Oh, no.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I mean, here we are. I mean, actually talking about dystopian perspectives, this is actually the time also, you know, I'm not trying to remind everybody about the hindsight bias to rub their noses in it. I'm trying to remind everybody about it so they don't do it, and maintain the perspective that we thought, maybe some people definitely were thinking it was the end of the world, you know, that things were going to just fall off a cliff, and it was going to be, and this was the end of civilization. And they also thought that last summer with Black Lives Matter and with the riots and with all the other things that were happening. There was a lot of civil unrest, and things were pretty ugly. We survived. Yeah. We survived just fine. Yeah. You know, and that's the perspective.
Not only that, I think the other thing is not only did we survive just fine, in terms of both knee-jerk, poorly thought-out responses to the riots, but also a lot of these things that are happening now. The US, and I think much of the world, more or less basically quietly returned back to normal. The vast majority of knee-jerk responses were quietly uncancelled or didn't amount to anything. Yep. And I think the same is going to be true with a lot of these pandemic measures. I mean, there are serious ethical concerns about stuff like vaccine passports, but anyone who thinks that is going to be permanent, I think is completely delusional, and I can't really say anything more charitable than that.
Well, I hear you on that one. And let me remind, you know, maybe everybody, remember the paranoia? I sure do. In the mid to late 2000, or, you know, like 2005, 2006 is when my head was in it, of everybody's going to get chipped, right? We're going to get RFID chips installed in us, right? And they're going to track us everywhere, and this is going to be a mandatory thing. And remember all that?
Yeah, well, now we just have cell phones, so they don't need the chip.
Well, exactly. Right? Meanwhile, we're busy buying up the actual thing that's going to track us.
Yeah.
Right? And making sure we keep it updated every year, right? So there you go.
Counterpoint to that has to be that. I mean, that's a very major dystopian trope there. I think a counterpoint to that has to be that cell phone tracking is nowhere near as accurate as it's portrayed on Law and Order. If you're just pinging off cell towers,
right? That's right.
It can only locate the phone's general direction, and only with a delay. I always keep my phone's GPS off. I don't share my location with any apps, and that's one of the reasons.
Right.
It's like we have more power over this than we think, or that we're told to think as well. And I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Well, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. I think the thing that we might want to remind ourselves of constantly, because this is actually the really important point, is that it's on us to be responsible and aware enough to keep our head enough out of the clouds that we do keep that in mind, that we can turn our phones off and not get tracked, that we do still have power of choice in a lot of things. Now, of course, my channel is all about thought reform and the way we don't necessarily have power of choice over some things too, which is why I want to remind people from time to time, hey, you know, this is part of the perspective is, I'll tell you about all the nasty stuff that people will get up to, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that the vast majority of people aren't doing that.
Right.
At all.
Absolutely.
You know, so just something to keep there.
Yeah. I remember a comment from Tony Ortega's blog. It was one of his ones in the Random Howdy section. The big thing is that the big thing that gets forgotten is how few people ever become true believers of any destructive ideology. And maybe more studies could be done on what these people have in common rather than try to extrapolate us to the rest of the world. The problem being that once these true believers get too powerful or get embedded in an institution, the rest of us can be strung on for a ride, whether we like it or not.
Exactly. It's our hierarchies and our power distributions that are questionable at times, you know, and that's where we
protect those from the infiltration of the bad guys.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So thank you for that. Good stuff. I'm gonna let you go because I want to give other people a chance to call in, but I definitely always appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. All right, talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Yeah. Good caller. Yeah, I wish schools would just teach. I'm seeing some of the comments here, guys, and believe me, I'm not ignoring. We have definitely experienced our share of and understand, the mental health crisis over this last year, right?
Yeah, and I agree with I think it's Christina in the comments that you do need to have mental health care in schools. Why not? I mean, kids go through a lot of different things, and they're struggling right now. And
absolutely. I mean, but let's qualify that with competent.
Yes, competent.
Competent mental health care. I will insist on that.
Not the counselor that has 600 students that they're seeing between 3 different schools.
Exactly, which is very akin to your public defender system, where you've got your public defenders who are your lawyer, but they're going to give you about 5 minutes of their time, and that's it. And that's what you got for your case. Like that's not really, competent. It doesn't, it might fulfill the requirement per the letter, but it doesn't really at all, and that's what we want for our kids too. Speaking of, okay, so, how do we do this perspective thing? Well, one, the most obvious, of course, is just reminding ourselves to do it, because we're actually pretty good at it. Naturally speaking, we're really good at assuming and taking on different points of view and different perspectives, and removing yourself, taking your sort of conscious awareness away from all the negativity and the badness does take a conscious effort, because you have a negativity bias that kind of wants to push it in your face. But you can do that, and merely by, first off, just reminding yourself to do it. It sounds too stupidly simple, but I say these things because sometimes they don't occur to people.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. The second step is the word gratitude has, for me, been a very powerful word. And I thought I'd like to share the power of this a little bit, because the other night we were talking, and I'll be honest, with I guess I'll be honest. Should I be honest?
I don't know what you're gonna say. So.
Okay. Well, I'm not. This isn't really like anything horrible. It's just. I have made it clear, and you guys definitely, I'm sure, understand that, the subject matter that I deal with can be rather difficult sometimes. And yes, the word is triggering. It does that. And sometimes pot is the perspective maker for me. Uh-huh. Now, this is not me endorsing this to you. I'm telling you about what I have done. That was sort of what gave me a little bit of a kickstart. Now I don't need that, and I don't do that, and it's not a substitute for, CBT or just, getting my head straight or, even taking a walk. I'm not trying to push that message, but I am saying that sometimes I got so deep into the awful that's what it would take to give me some perspective and kind of step back and step out of it. And this had to do not just with the content itself, but also my reactions to it and the shit that it would remind me of, to be blunt, right? From my past and some of the crap that's happened to me. And that there's really only one word for it, and that's triggering. It's like, ugh. And I'm not in a good place, right? She's wonderful because we'll talk stuff out. Yeah. I can share stuff with her. I share stuff with you guys, So you guys are great too. But for me, the image in my mind that I always form is a literal image or picture of stepping out and stepping away from the physicality of what represents the problem. if it's my office here, literally stepping up and stepping away, giving myself some distance and a little bit of time, and learning that I can afford to do that. And that the thing that has the lie that would sit in the back of my mind, the little voice, the little demon voice in the back of my head that would prevent me or stop me from doing this sort of thing, was the one that was telling me I didn't have any time. And I didn't have enough time, or I didn't have enough talent, or I didn't have enough knowledge, or I didn't have enough of whatever, but mostly time, because that's a big bugbear with me, to get done what I need to get done, so I can't give myself a break. I can't step up and step out. And that's the little lie that I would run on myself that would make it very, very difficult for me to ever pull myself out of this sort of negative feedback loop that I would stick myself in. So I'm only describing all this because I thought, well, I don't know, maybe this will help other people if I say, well, this is what happens to me. And it's sort of like this down the spiral sort of thing. And the thing that pulls me up and out of that, is the stepping out and stepping away. And then I can sort of start seeing things from a different perspective and start realigning. Once the problem feels like it's in your face and you can kind of push it out, then you can sort of start seeing it in relation to other things and comparing and contrasting. And this is my little rationality and intellectual process that I go through to try to sort stuff out. And it generally kind of works. If it's not, if I'm not, convincing myself that I'm, the stupidest, most dumb idiot ever. But I tend not to do that too much anymore.
Yeah.
It was worse at the beginning. It was really bad for a while. Anyway, yeah. So that sort of thing. And then, as one of you guys have mentioned in the comments here already, there is a thing called journaling. And this is something you can do, right? If you don't, you can, this gratitude thing is really great, because what you do is you can make a list, or you can do journaling, or you can do hashtags. You can do whatever you want with it. Or you can just list it out in your head, or write it on a Post-it note or whatever, or verbally talk to people. We got this, we got this, we got this, we got this. And just counting your blessings, so to speak, looking at the things in your life that you've been taking for granted. And I go into a lot more detail on the podcast about this point, but the things that you've been taking for granted are out of sight, out of mind. They're just there, and you don't put any perspective on them. You don't put any attention on them. And yet some of them are quite valuable and important things, like your house, your car, your job, the fact that you have a life, the fact that you're alive puts you 51% right. That's a perspective to maintain. So, those kinds of things we tend to negate or not pay attention to. We take them for granted. But look at how hard you had to work for all those things. Look at how much effort and energy and time you put into them, and how much create you put into them. And that's something you did. And you should validate that. You should acknowledge that from time to time. You don't have to. I'm not talking about walking around in a stupor or daze about it, or trying to make yourself into a narcissist. Anyway, we do have a call in the queue, and I'm gonna pick it up now because I've had this guy on hold for a little while. Mark, okay. Hello.
Yes, I was watching 2020. A few years back when they did a story on Scientology.
Yep.
And they brought in that lawyer.
Yes.
And that old hag.
The woman. Yes. Monique Yingling is her name.
Yeah. Now, one thing I found rather weird is that she's blinking continuously.
Yep. Very nervous.
Like a World War II signal lamp.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. She had this nervous blinking tick. He's referring here in this this was a few years ago. This was the last news story that I think it was 2020 that they did on Scientology. And this was going to be Ron Miscavige Sr. was going to have the spotlight, and the church kind of usurped it. They took over the show, because what they did is they sent their tax attorney, whose name is Monique Yingling, and they sent her to the studio to be their spokesperson. The church has no official spokesperson anymore, not since 2011 when Tommy Davis got ousted. And so that's what the caller is talking about here. Pretty wild stuff, huh?
Yeah, I've been, I've spent a good chunk of my life around horses. I've learned to read body language. And the ladies, I'm watching, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, big time.
What? And I kind of almost like, I've heard of a Scientology, and I thought maybe they had some chip implanted in their brain. They're sending their signals or something. Like she's on some sort of, like she's under some sort of remote control, and they're feeding the brain, telling her what to do.
Yeah, that might well be, because the Monique Yingling is not a Scientologist. She's just their tax attorney.
Huh.
She's a high-powered. she's a high-powered tax attorney in Washington D.C. I mean, she is somebody with influence, but she is not a Scientologist. So I guess I think I've been watching Mark Bunker. Mm-hmm.
He apparently this one Scientologist is trying to pass some sort of resolution to get him off the board.
That's right.
They want to get done with them, and luckily, from what I can tell, the county isn't buying it in their council.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and of course they're bringing this, they're bringing this chick that, looks like she's desperate for work. She's willing to take of anything. She looks like she just got out of the bar at closing time.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually funny you're calling about this, because I just saw her face from this interview like 2 days ago, and I was thinking, God, this woman. I watched a little bit of the video again, and her blinking was really something to behold. I mean, it was quite unusual. It was like she was
such a sign of lying for some reason.
Oh my God, it's really something. And she was literally talking like this. I mean, blinking right now. I don't know if you can see my eyes, but it's just it's like it was like ticking. It was very, very weird. Anyway, thanks for calling in, Mark.
Yep.
All right. Talk to you soon, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that Clearwater situation was pretty interesting. I knew that was going to come up this week. In fact, now to clarify, Mark Bunker is a city council member for Clearwater. He's also on the Downtown Development Board, and this is just an advisory board. And it's not the city council, it's an advisory board to the city council. It is made up mostly of Scientologists. Mark Bunker is now on that board, and they're trying to kick him off. So some woman who at least Winters or something is the attorney for the Downtown Development Board as an advisory board, and she went and I guess made a stink about this. Basically carrying water for Scientology. So I posted her contact data on my Twitter feed that the morning that this was that Tony was reporting on this a couple days ago, and suggested that people maybe contact her and let them know what they think about her carrying water for Scientology, because it was such a petty, disgustingly silly Scientology move. And she's not even a Scientologist as far as I know. So it's really just her enabling the church to harass somebody who doesn't need it or want it. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting stuff this week. How are we doing in the comments there, by the way?
There's a debate about mental health care in school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could be better, but at least it's there. I mean, it's probably better than what I had. That's for sure. Yeah, Mark Bunker was pretty upset about the whole thing. And he should have been. It was stupid. It's just harassment. And that's Scientology. It's so petty. That's the thing about this stuff that drives you nuts. Is people, it's like you go from this terrifying, abusive, hostile organization that runs around crushing people to this annoying little bully, kid who it's like a gnat. They just won't get off. It's such a. Anyway, it's good that they have, been so defanged, but it's still so annoying that they're just so annoying. Yeah, see, this is Jonathan, in terms of answering your question there, I don't know what powers they have as far as being able to talk or not talk about the subject of Scientology at a board meeting. Banning the word seems a little that it's not going to really hold up if it were really challenged in a legal sense. So I don't think they really have the ability to do that. But I'm not familiar enough with that aspect of what occurred to be able to comment a whole lot more than in a general sense about that. It's always surprising to me some of the little minutia that it's just gotchas in the law. Sometimes there's just these little things that they just get you. All right, now 984-214-4154 is our call-in line number, and I wanted to show you a little bit more of the 7-cam. Now, this was us. This was right after the last one where he's just sitting there munching. And I think on this one, he's just going to sit there, stay munching. And I thought, well, I'm going to throw this up there because I'm thinking nobody really wants to see this. I don't know, but I needed to test it because this was just my opinion, and it wasn't really founded on much of anything real. So you guys have to let me know in the comments whether watching 7 eat or not is of interest. I would usually avoid shooting that, but anyway, that's the middle part of our 7-cam today. We have a little bit more. We love it, they say. Okay, good. All right, they are down. Of course. Oh, that's interesting. Makeup artist. Okay, now, what sort of things do you do? I'm going to totally put you on the spot. Because I've been talking about me, right? And, of course, I use you to bounce off of. Yeah. Right? And vice versa, I think. Right. But do you have any perspective shifting or mindfulness sort of practices that help you, that you do?
I mean, definitely, like we were talking about, smoking a little bowl or something, or like just relaxing, taking deep breaths and doing relaxing exercises. Like, if you get real freaked out, it's like, okay, count all the blue things in the room or something, Relaxes you, helps you calm down, gives some perspective. I meditate on and off. I never stick to it, but it does seem to help when I do it.
Well, meditation's not necessarily like a harmful thing if you skip a day or even skip a week. Meditation is a wonderful exercise, and you can do it as often or as infrequently as you so desire. Just to make the point.
Yeah. Yeah, what else do I do? I should take more baths because that seems to help me relax more. Stuff like that. Journaling does help. Writing things down. Getting it all out.
You've been journaling for years.
Yeah, off and on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have them all over the house. So, yeah. I see. I don't keep a separate journal for things, but I do write a lot, for my stuff. But and that's sort of served that purpose for me. We also have been very happy that the weather's turning because now we're getting
do
walks
more walks.
in.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's all about. See, here's the thing, guys. It's all about just shifting things. It's making your brain focus and concentrate on something else than what's getting you down or what's obsessing you, or what is the focus of your anxiety or a depression or attention. And it's not like I'm proposing that this is some simple Simon thing that cures anything. It's all about dealing with and coping and maintaining perspective. It's not about cures. And in this case, right, if you can just, force yourself to get the focus of your attention elsewhere than on the stressful thing that it's on, that alone starts desensitizing it, at least in the moment, and gives you something else to think about. And so, like she says, spot all the blue things in the room. That makes you work at it. It's not passive. It's not just your eyes glance over the room and take everything in. You're looking for something. Now you're focusing. Now there's some attention and some intention to do a thing, and that shifts things around. This is mood altering, and this is thought provoking or changing. So, little things, but they can be powerful in the moment.
I find music can be helpful too, to relax and calm down and start thinking about different things.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Because I wanted to thank you, Sandy, for that super chat. And also earlier we had a wonderful super chat from Leandro Lucy. Thank you very much for your very kind words with that as well. Awesome, you guys. Love the super chats. So yeah, some things are stereotypical or tropes or whatever because they just are true. And shifting attention, taking a walk, getting a little perspective, those are things that actually, work. Music for me actually is extremely powerful.
Yes.
And I don't even pretend to understand why. Exactly. I mean, it definitely will put me in different moments in time, depending on what the music is. But it's not always about just reliving past glories or pleasant memories. Sometimes music is itself a kind of a communication, a kind of language that just it's like the language of emotion or something.
It is, because it can affect your emotions. It's interesting, it's like with movies that they put music in there to manipulate your emotions. It's like there are music that sounds very sad and upbeat and they can change your mood just listening to it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Another thing, if we're talking about taking causative action to do something to change your environment or shift attention, is color. Color can be powerful all by itself too. We assign lots of cultural values to different colors. And different cultures have different meanings for different colors, which is fascinating. Isn't yellow like color of sadness or something in China or something?
It might be.
Something unexpected.
Yeah, I know red has a very significant meaning too, but I don't remember what.
Yeah, like for us, it's a real bright color, but over there, it's like, no, that's death, that's dying, that's bad, something like that. And color can have a marked effect on mood and on outlook, disposition. So even changing that up, I've changed my day. I'll tell you, this is going to sound really stupid, but I've changed my day by changing my desktop background on my computer to a whole different color scheme or color shift or change of atmosphere, change of viewpoint, Dig in the dirt. There you go. Donna says. Yeah. Red is good luck in a lot of Asia. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was guessing on that yellow and China thing. I know there's some big difference in color schemes there because I remember studying that in some marketing stuff. But yeah, exactly. Being creative. That's right. Ex-Scientology asks is mentioning about being on Lee and Mike's show. I gotta say, by the way, it is a blast talking to them. It's a lot of fun being on their podcast, and you guys are gonna like the part 2. I think you'll like it more. I listened to the first one just to remind myself what we talked about and what made the cut, and it was pretty much the whole conversation. I don't remember them really cutting anything out. And we talked about Scientology and as a religion and should it be a religion, stuff like that. The second part, I don't know if I can say anything. I'll just safely say you're gonna like it. I'll just do that. I won't say what it's about. But it's gonna be fun. And I think that I am gonna ask Leah to come back on my show. And Mike's been doing some shows and stuff too. So maybe I should go. For you guys would like to see me do an interview with Mike? That'd be something you guys, because I know he's got a long-term thing going with Aaron, and he's done some other shows, and I wasn't sure actually. I really wasn't whether I should try to get him on my show, but now that I'm sitting here saying this out loud, it sounds really stupid. So of course I should try to do that. Okay. Oh, we have a call in the queue here. Let us pick this one up. Hello, you are on.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. Who is this?
So this is Christina, and I just wanted to again say that I'm just overwhelmingly grateful for you and I guess just the Aftermath team and everyone in general, because, you know, growing up as someone that wasn't ever in a cult or under like coercive control to that extent anyway, you know, it's amazing until you watch people and that degree, it really puts your own life in perspective. And working in schools, a practice that I like to do to kind of get kids thinking differently is like a penny for your thoughts. There's like a jar of pennies in my room, and they just, for some reason, kids just love pennies. So you can always kind of just
shiny object.
at that. And I'll just say, just give me a grateful thought that you have this week, right now, whenever, and here's a penny. And they love it. So I just thought that was cute and something I would share.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you're reminding me right now of something that is very, very important, and that is the power of learning or education, and I don't mean formalized right now. I mean just going and learning stuff. I can't think of anything that, you know, both in the moment and medium and long term, I mean, all of the above, learning new stuff changes the perspective on all of it, or helps change the perspective. It can, you know, and it can really blow it up. Because the thing about learning is it's new thoughts. It's thoughts that would never have occurred to you otherwise. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so right. It gives you that. I mean, I don't know. You were in education, yeah? Yep. So
yeah, and every time I think I know everything, I have to laugh because I'll listen to a podcast that you'll do like about street epistemology, or the one that you just did about what was it, Constellation? I can't.
Oh, Conciliance, yeah, Conciliance.
Every time I'm like, man, I thought I had it all, and Chris just dropped another truth bomb on me.
Right.
So you're right. That's an amazing thing to be grateful for. And you talk a lot about that, and every time you mention it brings me back to, you know, like crying over the aftermath and a lot of the kids that just had to go in and they never had that chance to learn or critically think or, you know, do anything.
That's right. That really is one of the most tragic things and biggest crimes that Scientology has committed, is it raised a generation of Sea Org members, kids, in such a negligent fashion, and so did not educate or prepare them for the world, and they had to really all grow up through the school of hard knocks, and, you know, to varying results.
And when you think about all the especially wealthy children that could have had, you know, the most prestigious education in the world, I mean, we could be missing out on the next best neuroscientist.
Exactly. The potential in every kid really is immeasurable. I mean, you just don't know what they're going to be or what they could be, and we want to realize that potential, you know, and that's where that education comes in. But I also think that that it can help all of us. Like, you know, literally, this might be another one of those little exercises you can do. It's like, well, take a walk, change your position, change the color scheme. Well, go learn something.
Yeah.
You know, just dedicatedly.
I like that.
You know?
Yep.
And maybe that might
be a little detective.
Yeah. Go teach yourself something. Doesn't even matter what. It could be a
Yeah.
recipe. It could be a factoid. It could be some trivia. It can be anything. But it gets your mind in a different place, you know, and it activates different parts of your brain and gets them going. So
That's right. And I love for kids to teach me something. They can be the
Yes.
best teachers
Oh yeah.
in the
Yes.
world. So it's like, come back and tell me what you learned. I want to know.
isn't it amazing? This is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to do the call-in show, is because I wanted to get perspectives from people. Because sometimes things happen in the comments and live shows that I really want to follow up on, and I can't really because it's just in the comment section. But at live talking with somebody like like you right now, you guys teach me stuff all the time.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And I really loved your all talk about music and art, because I think that's something that, of course, can stop you in your tracks. It's like when you paint, when you color, when you listen to music, you can totally zone out for 10 minutes and you're brought back and you feel better, and you can go on throughout your day. So
Exactly. You got it.
awesome. And Melissa, I loved what you said about just smoking a bowl to relax. I think that's as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I won't take up too much more of
No,
your
you're
time.
great.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Christina.
much for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Take
calling
care.
in. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Yeah, always a good time. But yeah, I was thinking about that earlier, and I spaced on it. The education thing, the teaching moments. They're perspective shifting, and they are perspective widening often. And I love learning new stuff, just because it not necessarily all the nasty stuff, but just fun stuff, new stuff, things that give you the new perspective on things. I have completely changed my mind about important issues over sometimes small little facts that I learn, so it can be really important that way. Let us, anything I'm missing in the...
They're just talking about the same stuff, and that we are there, and
Cool. Good.
saying, to have perspective, think about things in history and how you have it better now, kind of.
Oh, that's for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was born after 1922, being a type 1 diabetic. So.
Right? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we have it so good in so many ways. And that actually is that comparison thing, the compare-contrast thing is a thing. Excuse me. It can be, obviously, you'd want to do stuff, exercises like that with, some compassion and some empathy too.
Right.
Because we did win the genetic lottery. We did win the socioeconomic lottery by being born here. In the Western world, I mean. Even overseas, I mean, with guys, right? I mean, the first world, we have first world problems. Those are better, in my estimation, having lived the life I've lived, than to have third world problems that are much more lower on the hierarchy of needs kind of problems. And, we're lucky in a lot of ways,
Yes.
just by having won that lottery, because we didn't choose where we were born. We didn't choose what family we were going to get into. We didn't choose what education we were going to have. All that was lottery for us, for the most part. Okay. That all being said, I want to check in with Seven again, because this is the last one. Now
We're
he's
eating.
he's going to sit there and munch for a little bit, and then he will do something else, and I will narrate along with that. He's a little muncher, man, and
He
like I
loves
said,
his
I was just sort of standing there filming this, thinking nobody wants to see this. This is.
At least he's moving around.
Yes, he is. He is animated this time. Sometimes I am sure you guys are thinking we just got a still shot of him. There he goes. Okay, so I thought I would follow him to see whether he was gonna calm down and settle in now that he has had his food. And there he goes across the living room and back behind the couch. And there he sits, putting his face down behind the couch. So this is the kind of grief that he gives me every week when I try to give you 7 cam. So anyway, I didn't do a full-on production there, but I thought I'd give you guys a little bit more. behind the picture there. But who knows? Maybe I'll just follow Seven around for a few minutes in the future shows and not try to get the steady steady 7 cam. We'll get 7 cam in motion. Okay. Now we are nearing the end of our show here, so you know what time it is. It's critical thinking time, boys and girls. It is time for our lessons. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my critical thinking cards, which have logical fallacies and cognitive biases on each card, printed on each one. And I'm going to shuffle them, and then I'm going to present, and Mel will randomly pull a card. Oh, and she pulled a joker, so we will pull another one.
All right. Confirmation bias.
Okay, confirmation bias. We've all heard of this.
Oh, yeah.
Your bias is confirmation bias. You favor things that confirm your existing beliefs. We are primed to see and agree with ideas that fit our preconceptions and to ignore and dismiss information that conflicts with them. The first principle, this is a Richard Feynman quote. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Okay, true, all true. And in case you guys were wondering what the Joker, it's called the call-out card. And what it says is, your thinking is bad and you should feel bad. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So that is our critical thinking lesson for this week. Was that last week? Did we do confirmation bias last week? I don't remember reading that Feynman quote. Could have been. We talk about confirmation bias all the time. So if I did a double there, that's my bad. But then again, confirmation bias, it's deadly. You should know it. Okay, guys. Yes, so we're going to move toward wrapping up the show for this week. I hope we gave you some different perspectives and some ways to have or generate or create different perspectives for yourself. I believe that perspectives should be infinite. I think we should be able to assume and cast aside perspectives like we do clothes. I think that is a vital, vital, vital part of our ability to do critical thinking, is that we can assume someone else's point of view or no one's point of view. We can just look back, look up and over and at a situation without any bias to it. And it takes objectivity, it takes discipline, it takes some rationality over our emotional needs. Sometimes very, very difficult to overcome. Sometimes impossible to overcome in some situations. And if we're honest about that, we can factor that into the equation too, and still come up with a more logical answer than if we were just operating off the gut or off the emotion. So we're not all Mr. Spocks. We can't all pretend to be. That's not the goal. It's just,
we're human beings.
Yeah, exactly. So keeping it real and keeping it, with the understanding that we are just frail, silly little human beings, and we have a little tiny slice of perspective in the infinite that is the time and space that we all are existing in. We get this little tiny slice, so at the end of the day, the game is make the most of it. and that's what it's about. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. Thank you very much for coming around, guys. And watch for the podcast tomorrow. I will flesh out some of these ideas we've been talking about today a little bit more in that. And critical Q&A on Sunday. All right.